Hi everyone and welcome. Michelle here from Holistic Pillars, and today it's an absolute honour to welcome my friend and health coach, Tracey McBeath. Hi Trace.
Hi Michelle. Oh, it's the honour for me to be here. Thank you for asking me to come and chat to you.
It's normally you're on the other end, the other side. It's the other way around, and I've been interviewed by you in the past too. But today we're looking at, I'm thinking of doing a 3-part series. So we're actually going to talk about today you and your journey and Tracey McBeath Health Coaching and your platforms where you're a star. And the second one, it'll be more around low carb and then additional parts of low carb and how we can have options. And then the third one was beyond that, so deep diving into health coaching and not just being about food. But I just wanted to say hi, and I'll go back. I'm thinking 10 years.
It'd be more than 10 years. It would be because it was before I met and married my now husband and had Paulie. And you know, Paulie's nearly 9. So it's going to be maybe 13 years since I met you.
It's scary because you were my personal trainer.
Yes, I was.
and my husband, Paul's personal trainer. So we're back a long way, and we lost contact, and we've recently reconnected, which is lovely, and only to find it's been quite gorgeous because I've watched your journey now and how much you've evolved in your space. Yeah, we're very aligned, and you know, I'm very inspired by the work that you do. So I want to know more about you. I want everyone to know more about Tracey McBeath. So your journey, and yeah, let's start talking about you.
Me. Oh, okay. Because yes, I'm nervous because it's normally me asking the questions, which is very comforting for me. I'm so used to it. So yeah, a little about me. So I'm nearly 48. I'm 48 in a couple of weeks, which is fantastic. I am a mum of 5. I'm in my second marriage. I had 3 beautiful kids with my first husband. That didn't work. And that was when around the time I think I met you, when I was going through a separation and a divorce, and I had done my personal training and was having to go out there and work a little bit more. And yeah, and then, you know, I was on my own for a couple of years before I married and met my now husband, and we had 2 beautiful boys together. And yeah, that was probably, well, we've been together, you know, 12 years, I think 11 years now. So time flies. And yeah, and I think, you know, I have been through a lot of evolutions over the time. Health ones, you know, realizing that so much of what I knew was right about nutrition when it started not working for me, and, you know, was hit with all of that, and having to sort of have the courage to take the deep dive into learning something new beyond what I thought. And it does take courage because it's uncomfortable when you're hit with some information that, you know, makes you question what you think you know. And that took me into the low carb space. So we know when I turned 40, I was miserable, metabolically miserable. I was very happy. I was happily with my husband, but I was very overweight. I was very tired. I just couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, because I thought I was doing everything right. And, you know, that led me down the path to finding, you know, Professor Tim Noakes, and the work that he was doing. And that was the start, I think, you know, really the start of just a huge number of massive transformations and changes that I've allowed to happen in my life. And, you know, the more I sort of allow it to happen, the more I see that this is a part of life. And this is the most exciting part of life, when we do open up ourselves to change and learning new things and transforming. And, you know, I always often say to my clients, there's no limit to how many transformations you can have in a lifetime. You can have as many as you want to, and the more we have, the better, I think. So yeah, that brings me to today. I think, you know, I obviously discovered the food, made the changes, fixed my health in a lot of ways, lost the weight, got to a point where I felt great, was personal training again. But then I realized that I could do a lot more by helping people with the food side of things. And, in Australia, as a personal trainer, you're not really allowed to promote anything other than the dietary guidelines. And I didn't believe in them anymore. And I couldn't, in all consciousness, promote that, even though I was working for myself. So I had a bit of leeway around that. I'd just sort of say, look, have a read of this stuff, have a read, then we can talk. So I never, really said, this is wrong, this is what you should be doing. But after I went down the path of studying to become a health coach, I did both for a little while, but then in the end, it was just, in managing 5 kids and life and a business, I realized that I wanted to put all my energies into health coaching. So I'm coming up to nearly 5 years now that I've been, in my own little business and creating my own little space and just sort of going and creating what I see to create. And it's been incredible. And yes, that's how we reconnected. And, I think that's the beautiful possibilities of life. You can reconnect with people, along the path. And I've made some amazing new friends as well, and met some people that just inspire me every day, like yourself, that are courageous and that look beyond the limits of what they think is possible. And yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
But again, it's I think when you were probably my first introduction to this world. So you and Jim were like almost a year ahead of us with discovery, and again going down the Tim Noakes path and looking at other alternatives. I remember you personal training need, eat more carbs and eat this and everything contrary to what we sort of do now. And as you know, personal trainers really aren't qualified to just give nutritional advice. So it was all sort of, it's all a bit weird. And I love the fact that you went to the Nutrition Network, and that's where you did a lot of your studies and foundational stuff with under the Tim Noakes and the Nutrition Network. So what's a little bit about the qualifications or the study that you did there? Because we've probably done very similar stuff there.
Yeah, well, the Nutrition Network actually wasn't around when I first started and was trying to find somewhere. I mean, there was nowhere in Australia where I could study beyond, it was just dietary guidelines. And I knew that I just didn't want to get a piece of paper. I actually wanted to understand the physiology behind low carb and what was going on. And there was a few courses I looked at out of the US, but they were so expensive, $10,000 US. There's no way I could afford that. So I found the Real Meal Revolution first, and I became a banting coach through the work that they did. So that was my first step into it. So really it was just, I became a food coach. And because I was combining that with my personal training at the time, that worked quite well. And it's still important to understand that as a food or a health coach, I mean, it's not I still don't tell people what to do. So that's the really important difference. I'm not a nutritionist, although really I could become one very easily by getting an online course, doing an online course, and anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. Dietitian's obviously different, but it's not my job to tell anyone what to do. It's really to present the information and to show people how it works, and to get them to experience it themselves, how to do it. And then, I can open up ideas and show different options. And, really it's like just putting all the cards on the table, and then they choose, which cards they want to take. So it's interesting because it's not I don't think people really understand the role of it. And I know we're going to talk about the role of a health coach further down the track, but it is, it's just, it's like any teacher or a good teacher. You are there to open up people to beyond what they see as true and what, beyond their limitations. And that is it is an art. And I think really with all the study I've done, so when the Nutrition Network came out, I jumped on, did all the stuff that they offer, and I'm really, I very much love the work that they do and support them 1000%. But I'd also say that a lot of the other qualifications I've got or experience I've got have come from looking in a different direction. Even to that, it's not been about food necessarily, but more about understanding more about how we can see beyond what we think we know. And I mean, that was driven by personal need, but also the needs of the clients in front of me who were experiencing, just, I couldn't, you can learn the science, but that's only part of the puzzle. And I had clients who had been emotional eating, as I had been for most of their adult life, look to food in times of stress, and no amount of knowledge is going to help people overcome that. So that took me down a path of what's called the 3 principles, which is an understanding of how we work as human beings, through seeing the world through mind, consciousness, and thought. So, the fact that we filter everything we see through our own personal belief systems, through all our experience, and that it's like a movie screen, our life, but everyone's is different because everyone's had different life experience. And, just simply understanding that has allowed me to bring, many layers to my own personal journey, but also to helping my clients sort of see beyond, I guess, or see and reconnect to their innate potential.
You've all probably answered my next question, was what health coach?
Sorry.
No, it's good. What is a health coach? And I think you've just, like if I had to explain to somebody why would I want a health coach? Why would I want a health coach? They can actually help you untap the possibilities or try to, like you say, steer in the right directions or show what the different possibilities are.
Yeah. Do you know what I think the biggest benefit of having a coach is? And because I've got a coach and a mentor, because I think we've all got blind spots and it's very easy to see in others what that is. It's very difficult to see it in ourselves. And a coach has that power or that ability to show you where your blind spots are in a really supportive, non-threatening environment. And, unless we can see, what's going on, we can only see what we can see, right? So that's why, well, that's probably what I see as one of the biggest benefits of getting a health coach, is just to really just light up your own path and just help you see the things you can't see for yourself. And I think we stumble along. We're always doing the best we can. Everybody is doing the best we can with the level of thinking and with the level of awareness they have. But the potential when we tap into, increasing that is enormous, and it's effortless, but it's where the magic is really found to take us to that next, level in healing and growth.
And on our third little chat, we'll talk a lot more about that. But what I've been in awe of is your platform. So you had your own experience, you got your qualifications, so to speak, and started your health coaching, and then you built Tracey McBeath Health Coaching. But there's so many facets to what you do. You're the master collaborator and connector of people and showing people the way, and I want to just talk about those different platforms. And, obviously you've got different styles of coaching, and that could be for another day. But I love the lifestyle the low carb lifestyle long weekend, the low carb Melbourne, and all that sort of thing. Could you want to talk a little bit more about those platforms you have and the audiences? And I know there's a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everything that I started on and I created came from a place where I realized I was looking for somebody else to do things for me. Like I started my first podcast, the Health Evolution podcast, probably 3 years ago. And that stemmed from somebody asked me to be a guest in the low carb space on their podcast. And, 3 times that we had created a time for me to, they cancelled last minute because of this, that, and the other. And there was a lot of stuff that kept getting in the road. And, I sort of thought, what? I really was looking forward to doing that. Why don't I do my own? And it was literally like that. Okay, well, why may as well just do it. And, so, I popped on YouTube and Googled how do you do a podcast, and basically just followed everything that they said from there. And then as I was doing that, I did realize that the connections I was creating were invaluable. Working on your own you're kind of in a little silo, and relationships are just everything in life. And, the podcast became a way for me to build connections and to hear what great stuff people are doing in the space, because I think it's very easy to just look for the negatives and what's not going right, but there is so many people doing amazing things, and I really love that. And by doing that, I did create a lot of relationships. And the summit came about because of the relationships I built with a lot of the female GPs who were in the low carb space, but were getting frustrated because the current platforms out there were very male driven and male dominated, and they felt that they didn't have a chance to put their own voice forward. And just that literally then led to, well, why don't we do that? Why don't I do that? Well, I don't know how to do it, but I'll find out. YouTube, Google, how could I don't know. I think it's just when you open yourself to possibilities, things come to you. And when you don't then second guess everything and question your ability to do it, you just see that, you will do it as best as you see to do it. And, you'll just enjoy the experience. And that led to the summits. So I've done 2 now. But after I finished each summit, I'm like, how do I keep it going? It's great momentum. And I tried something last year to continue it, but it didn't quite work. See, that's okay. Not everything is going to work, but unless we give it a go, we're not going to know what will work and what won't. So that didn't work. But then after this one, the hub, the low carb lifestyle hub idea sort of came to me that, well, I can combine the summits with podcasts and community and, just keep conversations going by organizing special topic events and weeks. And and so it's just a constant work in progress. I can't sort of sit here and go, this is my goal. This is, my goal is to just create a platform, I think, where people can learn from, where they can come and just explore it and, know that, you can be, if you're curious, you'll find the answer to something that you seek. And, I think community is just so important, and not a tribal community, not a community that is cliquey that says, if you don't do it this way, you're not worthy. I'm really opposed to that. I think that limits us in so many ways. But just a community that says everyone's welcome. How you see to do it is how you see to do it, but be open to that constantly evolving. There's no rules. There's only what you see to do. And, you are free to just experiment and play with and, continue on your journey and your path, but still be a part of this, community and this space.
And so what's next is there anything new on the horizon? I know that we're talking about the year of abundance and all sorts of stuff, but we'll talk about that later. There is something that's exciting that I can tell you that I am doing actually with Nutrition Network. So they're putting together a pilot program to certify Nutrition Network advisors to a certification pathway. And they've asked me to be a part of the lecturers to put together the program and present. And that's just probably the most exciting thing I've ever been offered in my life to do. So we're putting the curriculum together now, and that is going to be, that'll be September, October, November, that I'll be involved in doing that. So that's I'm really excited as to where that may lead as well. And I think because Nutrition Network is a global platform, and I think that's just the connections and all the possibilities that might come from that. And I think I'm really excited that they're thinking outside the box too, because I guess I'm not a traditional coach. I'm not a techniques-driven, techniques-based, very different coach, and they're very open and interested and very keen for me to share, I guess, that type of coaching as well, because, I don't know but why, but it's really, really exciting. You've just answered my next question, which was, no, don't be silly. I think it's fantastic. your style of coaching. It is different than mainstream. It's not tick a box, type stuff. It's conversation, it's guidance, it's gentle. So I know that you've been involved with Defeat Diabetes as well, so helping them increase their platform, and there's a lot of learnings and a lot of. So, how would you wrap up your style in one word? I know I'm putting on the spot here a bit.
One word.
Why would people? I mean, we've already answered this one too. Why would people want a health coach? We've answered that, Trace. And there's some great opportunity. I would like to actually ask you, I know that you've got a good connection with Nutrition Network and the great work that Tim Noakes has been doing. So I know that he's also, do you want to just briefly give people a little bit of a background of Tim's journey? And that might help reflect back onto Nutrition Network and Banting and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Well, Tim is just a hero in so many ways in my eyes, because he was able to stand up and say he was wrong. I mean, he discovered, he wrote the book Law of Running. I mean, anyone who was a serious runner had that, or into, medical exercise science or sports science had that book on their bookshelf. And he was the classic carb loader. Everything was about carb loading. And like most people in the space, until his health started to suffer, and he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, as a fit man who ran many marathons. It just, created that whole, wow, what is going on? And of course, he sadly watched his father die of very slowly and horribly of type 2 diabetes. And he thought, look, I just don't want to go down that same path, and I'm missing something. And, he stumbled across, I think it was just this fortuitous way the universe worked. He got this email, I don't know if it was Finney and Noakes, who, if they were the first people, it was like this, some flyer that emailed him around, the Atkins, that's right. The new Atkins for New Year. And he's like, what is this rubbish? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then again, curiosity got the better of him, and he read it. And he basically said within 2 hours, I completely changed my mind about carbohydrates, and became really one of the leading advocates of the low carb lifestyle. And, so much so that he got, as we know, he was put, on trial for giving advice that he stands by and has been proven to be the right advice. Over 4 years, low carb and him has put on trial. And I think, it took its toll. And I interviewed him for my podcast, and he, says if it wasn't for his wife, he probably wouldn't be here anymore. It was a very, very trying time, but, he's come out the other side, and he's been vindicated. Low carb's been vindicated, and he just is going to spend the rest of his days, showing people the possibility and the potential of health with low carb, and trying to, prevent these chronic diseases that are caused by lifestyle, by what we eat, by high carbs and the rubbish that people eat. So that's, he's driven. When you're driven by that, it's unstoppable, isn't it? It's a very, and that's not an intellectually driven process. And I think that is a lot too, if we bring in the work that I do as a coach. We are so used to being driven by our intellect and think that it is about knowledge and about learning more and knowing more, but that is so limited. There is so much more available to us when we can see beyond the limitations of intellect. Intellect is amazing, but there is far more there that we can tap into that allows us to, I guess, just live the kind of life that we want to live, and not be afraid to try different things, and, to stand up and say, like he did, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I mean, we know Peter Brookner's done it, and we know Gary Fettke has done it, but how many won't do it? They'll just continue to stay in that cognitive dissonance and carry the same line because their ego won't let them say they were wrong.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap that up there, because I think that envelops everything that we have been advocating all these years. And I think it's fantastic, Trace. And I thank you for the platform you provide everybody. I just thank you for sharing your knowledge on this, and I look forward to having our next little chat.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait. Thanks so much.
Thank you.